Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Getting In, a College Coach Conversation. I'm back. I've been on vacation. I picked up a nasty cold, not COVID. I've been tested while I was away. And it's September. I'm always amazed when we arrive at this time of the year that it's already this time of the year. So those of you who were juniors before the summer, now you are seniors and you are in the thick of it. We're going to be sharing educator stories this week. We've been doing that recently, and we have a great personal story from someone on the team who was an international student who decided to attend college here in the United States. We're also going to be talking through all of the writing on the Georgetown application. So if you are applying to Georgetown, you want to stick around, we're going to talk through each of those elements. But before we get to all of that, we're going to be talking about getting ready to fill out the financial aid forms, and those are coming in some cases sooner than the application deadlines are coming. And so joining me for that is my colleague Lori Peltier, who is a former financial aid officer at both Anna Maria and Becker colleges. Hi Lori, how are you?
Hi Beth, I'm fine, thanks. I think my voice is better than yours today.
Sounds a little better. Sounds a little more normal anyway. All right, so I alluded to this in my intro, but why is now a good time to be thinking about the financial aid applications that you're going to have to fill out?
So now is a great time because families and students in particular are putting together their list of colleges that they're going to apply to, hopefully working on their applications and their essays and all of that. And the parents are probably a little worried about the price tags that they're seeing at some of these schools. So now's a good time to get ready to complete the applications, which become available October 1st. So don't jump the gun and fill out the applications now. The applications you'll see on the websites are for last year. The new applications for students attending school in fall of 2021 won't come out until October 1st. But now's a great time to prepare by looking at all the schools on your list and seeing what they require. So a little bit of research and homework to figure out deadline dates and what forms they require.
Right, because as quickly as we seem to have arrived at September 10th, just as quickly as that, October 1st will be here. And then, of course, you'll blink and your kids will be out of college and all of this will be a faint memory. But that's for the future. I'm not even there yet for that. All right, so what can families do to prepare? You said now's a good time to get prepared for that process. What kinds of things do you recommend that they do?
I recommend putting together like an Excel spreadsheet or some kind of a chart for listing all the schools that they are applying to and what they require for financial aid. All the schools will require the FAFSA form, the free application for federal student aid, which is a government form and free to fill out. But then there are about 300 colleges in the US that require the CSS profile form that's put out by the College Board. It does cost a little bit of money to complete, but just keep in mind you don't have to do it for every school. So knowing what each school requires and then paying attention to the deadline dates, especially if you're applying early action or early decision, those deadline dates are really important. The earliest I've really seen is November 1st. So you have the whole month of October to get it done. But that's something you can, keep track of. Because they are the type of form where you only fill it out once and it goes to all the colleges on your list at one time, you really want to pay attention to what's your earliest deadline date and be prepared to answer, to be done by that time.
Is there any benefit to filling it out literally on October 1st and sending it off early or not really?
So early is good, but I don't recommend October 1st. In my experience with a lot of the software that comes from the Department of Ed or even the College Board, the first
Even
day,
the College Board. Yes, the College Board.
yes. So the first day there can be some kinks that haven't been worked out yet. You don't want to be that guinea pig who
Right.
gets stuck and you don't know if it went. So I say, wait a couple days, see what happens. Any of those kinks will be worked out and fixed, and then do it. Like I said, you have pretty much the whole month of October to get it done.
Right. And the reality is if the deadline is November 1, well, I wouldn't, by the same token that Lori's talking about, well, I wouldn't say you want to press the button on November 1 because many, many people will likely be doing that. You're not going to get more money if you apply by October 2nd versus really you just need to get it in by the deadline. So a couple of days ahead to avoid technical glitches, probably not a bad idea, but all right. What improvements? So these forms have been around for a long time. I remember my parents filling these out back when
Mhm.
I was applying to college, which was a long time ago. We're not going to talk about how long ago. I'm assuming these forms have been improved over time. For starters, they're online now, which they weren't back in the day. But what improvements have been made to these forms?
Right. So because they are
Mm,
online, there is some concern for privacy and keeping your data safe because it does have names, social security numbers, income information. So one of the things that they have done for the FAFSA form is created this FSA ID. The FSA ID is a secure password that you create using your date of birth and your social security number. And you use it to sign your form and to make any changes. And anytime you want to go in and look at the data and keep track of your federal funding, you need this FSA ID. And that's one of the things that can be done ahead of time. So that can be created now so that it's done and ready to go. When you submit the FAFSA form, you'll have it and you'll be able to submit it all in one transaction. So that's one thing, is they've created this very secure login. The other thing they've done is they've created a way to pull your data from the IRS. As
mm,
scary as that sounds, when you're in the FAFSA form and you're in the parent or student income section, it will say, did you file a tax return? Do you want us to pull the data from the IRS?
mm,
Most people are able to do this right online, and it helps you so you don't have to worry about transposing any numbers or picking up the wrong numbers off of your tax return.
mhm,
It will only pick up the data that's required and place it in the line item that it's asking for. So that is an improvement that's been out for a couple years now. Another thing that they've done is if you have more than one child in college, they allow you, when you get to the end of the first one, it will say, we see that you have a sibling enrolled. Do you want to roll over the parental information into a new FAFSA form?
nice.
Yeah, it hasn't always worked in the past, but I think they've worked those glitches out. And so it saves some time and effort on the parents who have more than one child in college.
Excellent. So, yeah, I mean, I would say those sound like pretty massive improvements, actually,
Yes.
if they work, when they work, right?
Yes. Yes.
What are, so as you mentioned, one of the reasons you might want to pull the data from the IRS is, you avoid putting the wrong information on the wrong line or transposing a number or something like that. What are some other common mistakes that you see families make and that they should do their best to avoid?
hmm So some of the questions are pretty broad. For example, in the parent section, it says report the value of your investments. And if you don't click on the little question mark to see what is an investment that you include,
Mm-hmm.
you may include investments that do not need to be reported and overstate the assets for the family. So one of the things I see a lot is parents are including their retirement savings in their
Mm,
investments where that is supposed
right.
to be kept out, but is not really clear on the question. So I would always, click on that question mark for more help and more description than what the initial question asks. So the retirement savings are one of them. The other one is reporting 529 college savings that you might
Mm-hmm.
have for your child as a child's asset.
Oh,
That
yeah.
can really skew your eligibility for financial aid. A 529 plan or a Coverdell education savings account are set up specifically for education for your child, but they're not the child's asset, they're the parent's asset.
Got it.
So that's one thing you'd want to make sure you're putting it in the right column, that
Got it.
as a parent's asset. Missing deadlines is another one.
Yeah.
And then the other question that a lot of families struggle with, but is resolved if you do IRS data retrieval, is the amount of money you paid to federal income tax.
Got it.
So some people pull it off of their year-to-date pay stub or off of their W-2, but that number is not actually what you end up paying because you have to go through the process of filing your taxes. So it comes off your tax return, but some people pull it from their W-2, and those two numbers are different.
Got it. Well, and also they make the mistake and pull it from the wrong year, right? They might look at a
Right.
current pay stub when really you're looking at prior year, and
Yes.
that would be bad. Um, well, actually, though, which leads me to something somewhat related, right? So when you file these forms, they are based on the prior year,
Mhm.
which the prior year, if you're applying this year, means there was no COVID. All of that impact has not even happened yet. You haven't even, we've maybe dreamt about something like this happening, but not really. And so what do you do if you have been impacted by COVID if your economic situation has changed pretty drastically from the prior year results that your income tax is going to show and all of those federal forms are going to show.
Right. And unfortunately, this is happening to a lot of families
Yeah.
this year. So those of you who have high school seniors, you will be putting your 2019 tax return data.
Mm-hmm.
The forms, the FAFSA and the profile form, require that you complete it with 2019. But if your 2020 income is lower for whatever reason, you were furloughed or you're not getting bonuses or you're not working full time, you do need to reach out to each individual school and appeal your information. So don't put your new information on there. It will mess things up and error messages, and the schools won't know what's right. So stick with what they ask for, but after you've submitted them, go ahead and write an email to the college financial aid office saying you've done the FAFSA form, but you have an extenuating circumstance and this is why. Each school will treat it differently. They may ask you to complete one of their forms. They may ask you to send in a year-to-date pay stub or more information, but that's the starting point, is go ahead and fill them out as is, but then reach out to the schools with any changes.
So, and reach out prior to them making any decision. So you don't want to wait and negotiate it later.
That's what we're recommending this year, that families reach out immediately after submitting the forms. Some of the colleges may tell you to wait until after January 1st when the year has ended and you know your total income for 2020, or even until you've completed your tax returns for 2020 and they say that they will take it into account then. Or they might even say, we're going to base your freshman year of college on 2019 and your sophomore year will be based on 2020. We really don't know. It is a school by school decision and nobody has really come out yet to say exactly which way they're going to go.
Right. So send the information and then you'll find out in your conversations with colleges. So, all right, Lori, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate having you here, and this is some great information that you shared.
Thank you, Beth. I was happy to be here.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from my colleague, Sai Samboon, who grew up in Thailand and decided to attend college here in the United States.